One.
¿Qué pasa, campeones? And welcome to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast. It is Monday, February 8th, and we are here to talk about what happened over the weekend in the world's best and most entertaining football league in the world, where the club, my club, the club of all clubs, a club who recent times has made more headlines worthy of YouTube conspiracy theories, a club without institutional leadership since October, a club without a president, a club in economical crisis, and with a large portion of the public's opinion against it, with detractors coming from other clubs, from other leagues, trying to destabilize the team ahead of crucial Champions League clashes. But in the meantime, folks, Koeman and this group of brave men keep on trucking, keep taking care of business, and keep taking names while doing it, and having me fall in love, or maybe fall. I mean, I've always been in love with my club, of course, but at least fall in admiration and sheer adoration for this current crop of players. Regardless of what will happen at the end of the season, this group has already surpassed my expectations, and I'm very thankful for it. And of course, here to discuss this and a little bit of white noise coming from the nation's capital is the founder of this fantastic podcast, Kiyan, Sobhani. And if you like what you're hearing, if you're here listening for the first time, make sure you subscribe and share with your friends.
Wow, great intro. I love everything you said because it's all true. This is a season in turmoil for Barcelona, and we are talking about you doing the intro with that much enthusiasm. I can't wait until Barcelona actually gets their shit together to see how big your head's gonna get. Everything's good here. White noise in the capital, white stuff here. There's a massive snowstorm, which means my kids are home from daycare. So if they barge into this and get into the video, that's out of my control. We will welcome that. You just kind of did the intro. We both won it, but I guess it's because you're second place. So yeah, it adds up. So congratulations. So this is the narrative right now, is that Barcelona are they've discovered something, something intangible, the comeback fighting spirit, all that stuff. It's been a couple games now. We did not get a chance to record after the Granada game, obviously. And so that was kind of the big momentum swing for a lot of people. I was skeptical about it, but I will say, like, how many, I think at least six, right? Away games in a row you guys have won. Is it more? You can correct me on that.
So listen. I mean, I was saving this for a little bit later, but if you want, we can get into this right now, because you're right to point it out. It's damn right impressive, Kiyan. I had to look at it myself as well, just to go over the numbers and take a minute just to pause here and appreciate really what this team is currently doing. And that's coming from me, somebody who's always critical of what I'm seeing from my boys out on the pitch. And I'm going to run this by you. Like I said, I had prepared it for a little bit later on, but since you're already bringing it up, since the draw against Eibar, which was at home in the Camp Nou, right? Barça played away against Huesca, 1. Athletic Club, 1. So let me. I'll mention which ones away, right? Huesca away and a win. Athletic Club away and a win. Granada away and a win. Real Sociedad away and a win. Now, mind you, then Barça Athletic Club away and a win. I count these are Supercopa matches, okay? And of course, against Athletic Club, they lost in the final. Then Copa del Rey away and a win. Those last three that I just mentioned, Real Sociedad, Athletic Club, and Cornellà, all go in extra time. Elche, it continues, right, in this order. Elche away and a Barça win. Rayo Vallecano away, Barça win. Barça at home against Athletic Club, a win. Granada away, extra time, and a win. Real Betis away and a win. A comeback as well. This is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the 5th comeback as well so far for Barça this season. I mean, again, and I guess when I sort of when this realization beset me, I had to kind of, prepare this intro and really kind of just pay my respects because, like I say, I'm always very critical of this team and particularly when they play a style of football that is not, entirely to my liking. But looking at what this team is achieving, second place in the league now, 7-point gap. Of course, yes, Atletico de Madrid have now 2 games in hand. Hopefully everybody stays healthy. I think they have 5 or 6 coronavirus cases at the moment over there. It's bad.
If you go to
Having
like
said
the
that,
into the Calderon website on SB Nation, it's depressing. It's like every single article is an update about a new
I
COVID-19.
saw Jeremy Bairn's tweet where
Yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, that looks bad." But you're looking at that, and you just got to tip your hat off at some point and say, you know what, it might be not exactly according to my liking. Some wins might be grinded out, in a little bit more less fancy, a little uglier of a fashion, a little uglier style of play. But you got to give credit where it is due, and that was my tribute to Koeman and his work of this team because it's impressive, man.
Yeah, but you know what? I would argue that there's one way to win the league, and that is to dominate every single game and just destroy all your opponents, like Barca did in the sextuple season. But there's also another way, which to me is obviously not as aesthetically breathtaking, but to me just as satisfying, or at least like just slightly less satisfying, but still very satisfying. And that is the way like Real Madrid won the league in 2007 under Capello, where it was like not pretty, but it felt so good to just have those comebacks over and over and over again, and just that fighting spirit. It's really satisfying to watch your team win that way.
It is
Because we can't control all the talent that we have on the team. There are ups and downs, but if you have like all your players just putting every single ounce of energy on the field, it makes you proud, right? So it's satisfying. Now,
Absolutely.
I don't think that's going to sway your prediction about Atleti winning the league, obviously. However, there was a little jump here for Barca, which is nice to see. And obviously, you want that momentum to keep rising against PSG. When you said that there's other outside forces trying to cause turmoil, were you referring to the Lyon? Was it the president or the manager who was saying the stuff about Koeman? That's what you were referring to?
Well, that's just one more example, and not so much Lyon because I read the president's statements, and he talked about how Koeman obviously was not shy to talk about Depay. I was more talking about the France football cover that came out today, where I don't know if you saw Kiyan.
No.
France football, or is of course the prestigious magazine that awards the Ballon d'Oro. They came out with Messi on the cover wearing a PSG shirt. Just shameless.
I didn't see that. That's amazing.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So, more of that stuff and just a lot of the stuff you're hearing from the French capital over from Paris, where, everybody and the janitor are talking about at any given opportunity, about Messi coming over to play for Paris. So wasn't so much aimed at Lyon. I think, that I forget the president's name, but he has, in his own right, of course, an argument there talking about, well, why is Koeman complaining now when it's involving one of his players? He wasn't scared when they asked him about, Depay. Having said that, all that noise coming from Paris, I actually like it because I think it's helping this team in front of our eyes, bring this group of players together and create this kind of unity, as well as the extra times, as well as the comebacks, these hard-fought wins. I think also a lot of that outside noise is reported from within the Messi camp that he's absolutely sick of hearing the PSG entourage, let's call them, talk about his possible rival to the club. And this is, being reported by sources from Marca, so they wouldn't necessarily want that news to leak out, I guess, or publish that sort of news. But I think it's helping this team. I think it's helping create this sort of fighting spirit and bond. And again, regardless of what happens at the end of the season, where Messi will go, what trophies will be won or not. I think, in this moment of the season, and of course, Kiyan, just how important February is each and every single year in a season of football, because everything accumulates, right? You have the Liga, you have the Copa del Rey that reaches the latter stages. You got the Champions League, that then the knockout phase starts again. So this is such a crucial month, and I think it's coming, at the right time to bring this sort of again, unity to this group of players that you can see it out on the pitch as well. I mean, I gotta tell you, man, I got a little emotional seeing Messi, give a sort of fatherly hug to Trincao after he scored the winner, and things of that nature, and Koeman as well. So I'm happy, man. I'm like like I said, they've already exceeded my expectations. Put it that way.
So let me just say also, I'm not one of those people that believe that you have to absolutely focus on youth team players and shoehorn them all in. This is a complaint that many Real Madrid fans have had since I was born, basically. Over the past 2 decades, why didn't we give players like Soldado and Negredo a chance? And the list goes on. And my answer was like, because we want good players. We don't care about if they're young or old, if they're from Spain, from Brazil, from China, who cares? And I think in most cases, Real Madrid's youth products weren't good enough to crack the team. But I will say, there are certain generations that are outliers to that. And I think like what's happening with Barcelona now in that, Piqué's injured. So you have Mingueza, you have Araujo stepping in by necessity. And all of a sudden, like you have this Pedri. So, and we'll talk about Pedri and Puig in a sec, because Puig had a great game, I thought, against Betis. But I think like it's really satisfying to, when your club is like out of desperation, out of necessity, has no choice but to promote young players because the squad is thin or whatever reason, you start to see these things that get you really excited. So this goes back to Quinta del Buitre when Alfredo Di Stefano in the 80s was the manager. The team was shit. He was desperate. They couldn't sign players. All of a sudden, he promotes like the entire Castilla team. And what the hell? They're amazing, right? And they go on this domestic dynasty. And then you talk about like that season when Real Madrid had Solari, and like nothing was really working or clicking offensively. And
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, Reguilon, Marcos Llorente, and Vinicius, those three, all of a sudden that season was terrible. It was a disaster, but it became fun in some aspects to see those three players thrown into the fire. I feel like with Barca, you're kind of seeing, the rise of like where it's like Pedri, Araujo, Mingueza, Puig finally has been unshackled and unchained in the last couple games. But really, this was this his first start of the season? Must have been, right? In the league anyway.
Don't quote me on this, but I was, in the league for sure.
Yeah. So there's that silver lining in those situations. So I also want to say Puig was, I don't know, you probably know better than me what the backstory of why he wasn't playing, whether it was the club politics or whatever. If that's put behind everybody now, and all of a sudden you get Puig in midfield, taking even minutes from that Pjanic would previously have taken, and there's that Pjanic thing, you're tied to him for a few more years, contract-wise anyway. But if he starts taking those Pjanic minutes even, I think this Barcelona team actually gets really exciting.
Well, listen, I'm really quite pleased to hear you talk good words and to say these things about Puig, because from what I saw on social media, again, bad place, of course, to go for opinions when it comes to football or anything for that matter. But yeah, I was surprised to see him catch a lot of heat, and people talking about how
don't go to social media only go to Churros y Tácticas for facts.
Right, exactly.
Ignore social media.
Absolutely. Yeah. And basically talking about how, he stunk so bad that therefore he was taken off in the 55th minute or something. I mean, it was first of all, it was out of sheer necessity that he had to come off and of course give way to Messi. And second of all, I mean, I didn't see him do anything wrong in the first half. I thought that his touches were good. Did he make any key passes for that matter? I don't think so, but all of his passes, all of his touches were good. And this is coming from a player that is not used to, as you pointed out, playing in the starting 11. So, it was a first for him of in that sense, of some sorts. So, I don't know. I was just kind of immediately when I logged on, I sort of logged back off again thinking, this is the reason why I try to stay off of social media and ignore that so much, because it completely painted just a different picture than what I had saw than what I had seen, what I saw during that game. So I'm happy to hear that you, in fact, reflect my views. So good on you.
I don't think it's Puig's fault that he didn't have his offensive metrics weren't great, because everything else was fantastic for him. And this is one of those games you go by the eye test, I think, because he was his combination play with Busquets was really encouraging. His ball progression was really encouraging. His movement off the ball to me was fantastic.
Absolutely.
Nice shoulder feints and dips to create space for himself. He's press resistant. To me, he kind of picked right back up where he was last season, because all these notes I had from him from the Betis game were the same notes I had from him like every game last season, in that it didn't look like he's lost momentum, which is also a great sign of maturity and his ability to deal with pressure. For some other players, especially young players, for them to have their first start of the season so far into the season, it might take them a few games to actually rediscover themselves, understandably, right, and get into rhythm. Exactly. But I feel like he didn't need that. He looked great right away. Yeah. His intention was good. I always thought he was doing well to progress the ball. He has some really nice touches, as you said. I also think, as a whole, offensively, obviously Barcelona didn't create much in that first half, apart from that crazy long lay header miss that Alba with that beautiful cross. That was really their only moment offensively. Everything else was kind of just trying to build up and get into good positions. Obviously, Messi wasn't there in the first half. I think, if anything, if you're going to single out a midfielder, it's probably Pjanic in that first half who wasn't great. So that, to me, this was the Puig game. Actually, I would actually take the complete opposite view of what was said on social media. Again, I don't know what's said on social media about Barcelona, generally speaking, apart from a few Kool-Aids who just don't even follow me, who log on Twitter just to look up my tweets during a Barcelona game so they can disagree with me. But other than that, much better than me what is said, right? So I would take the opposite. I think he was a standout. I thought he was fantastic.
I agree. And I would go one step further even and remind those listeners or viewers in this case that this was also a team where Koeman had to introduce 4 changes, right? I mean, you had Braithwaite, Puig, Pjanic, Mingueza gave his right back as well. Yeah. So it's players playing out of position, players playing together that are not necessarily used to playing together from the start. So yeah, I mean, I took away only positives really from that first half, despite the fact that, as you mentioned, and rightfully so, that there was a lack of clear goal scoring opportunities besides that long lay header, which when he missed that, I gotta admit, my heart sank a little bit, and I was fearing the worst, given the fact that the game started out pretty much right away, right off the bat, with that Araujo injury, where I was thinking, oh boy, this is gonna be bad. Is this gonna be a turnaround for the worse? And I'm always very dramatic and drastic, in my emotional outburst. And I was thinking, that's it. The season's going to go tits up, and Betis going to walk away here with a win. But again, I mean, that second half was quite a performance, quite a spectacle, because, and I knew obviously that Messi would have an impact. I didn't know his impact would be that immediate. I mean, again, quote me if I'm wrong or tell me if I'm wrong, but I think his first touch was that goal after having come on in 2 minutes. And I want to give credit to Dembélé as well for spotting Messi and managing to keep a hold of the ball and dribbling with 2 feet with 2 Betis defenders on him, and then spotting Messi and make that little run into the box. Because I think also, again, Dembélé had a lot to do with that, and he had quite I would say a good game as he continues to do. So this match, man, it just left me with a good taste in my mouth, in particular with the Champions League clash coming up. I gotta say, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, because of course we still have that vital semi-final clash against Sevilla, again an away game. So it'll be the last. It'll be the last for quite a while, because next week we'll play PSG at the Camp Nou, and then the Copa as well. I think we've got some home legs as well in La Liga, so that'll put the whole traveling to a stop as well. And I think this Copa match will be quite something as well. I'm looking forward to it.
And Sevilla with a huge 3-0 win over Getafe. Not that Getafe are this crazy difficult opponent to beat this season, but Sevilla, that second half, Papa Gomez entrance was perfect script. What a goal.
Yeah.
if you're gonna go this deep into Copa del Rey, you better win it, because
Yeah,
otherwise you
exactly.
either in Copa you either go all the way or get out really fast so that you don't have to play all these unnecessary games. If
Yeah,
you're getting to the semifinal, you better go all the way and win it.
yeah.
In that case, the fact that Real Madrid like almost never win Copa, might as well get out as fast as possible. Uh,
It's true. It's true.
um, I did want to say with regards to Barca too. I mean, Messi obviously did his thing, and obviously the assists, and I think it was the second or the winning goal. I can't remember. The pass over the top was obviously fantastic too. The one where I don't know if it was the Trincao goal or the one before that, where he dinks it over to the top to the left, and then eventually gets squared back. Um, so I also just wanted to say. I kind of echo about your sentiments about, like, so when Araujo gets injured, and this is kind of like around the same time that if I'm Barca fan, I'm getting worried about Mingueza's positioning, because Guardado just has so much space to make a run in behind. Against a makeshift right back, Mingueza, obviously that's not his best position. And Emerson, obviously the Barcelona player on loan who could play that position, had a decent game, but and Borja Iglesias and Guardado both, I thought, could exploit that space in behind Mingueza. And then when I saw Araujo go out and De Jong playing the center back role, I also would have further concern, because if you look at Betis's first goal, De Jong just his positioning is out of whack. He doesn't, and understandably, it's not his position. He doesn't really know where to be, but he just basically leaves his man the whole sequence. But
And
this is
Mingueza as well.
and Mingueza too.
Because
And
Mingueza is the one that gets ahead. He's like more involved offensively, so he's completely out of position in that one.
here's what's interesting about De Jong. Obviously, he's reliable with the ball at his feet. I don't know if you know about this stat. You may very well know about it, but he had 100% passing accuracy off the bench, which is the first time since 2005 a La Liga substitute has had that passing accuracy. I'm assuming like X amount of minutes minimum, because obviously there's been players who played 1 minute and had 100% passing accuracy. But from what I understand, 2005, 2006 was the last time a player off the bench had that many minutes and had 100% passing accuracy. So
Didn't know that.
obviously great on the ball. Yeah.
Where'd you get that?
Possibly out of my ass, but I actually think I saw it on Twitter. The 100% passing accuracy obviously is confirmed. That stats in 2005. I saw it on Twitter somewhere. I'll probably dig it up in a second here, just to because that's what we do on Churros y Tácticas. We're only facts and not fiction. So I actually have a very short window to record today because I have to be somewhere. But what did you want to emphasize? There's also a question from our patron Taps that we should take before we wrap it up.
All right. Well, I mean, it's my idea was sort of to transition over to Real Madrid by quoting Ronaldo Koeman from his second to last press conference, when he was asked about the condensed schedule and the injuries or the potential injuries at the time. His literal phrase was, I want to make sort of a call out to La Liga as well as UEFA to rethink the whole scheduling for these matches, because they are killing our players. I want to read out that quote because this last match day we've seen 7 injuries take place in La Liga. Obviously Araujo now out as well. Odriozola out for Real Madrid, with the news of Ramos also going into surgery, so he'll be out for, I think, 6 weeks or something, 4 to 6 weeks if I'm not mistaken.
Militao also injured now.
Militao injured as well. So I guess and before we get into the match itself, I wanted to ask you, Kiyan, like, now that the leader is gone for Real Madrid, from your perspective, is that comparable to Barca missing Messi, if not from an impact point of view? Because obviously, I mean, Messi is they play the opposite positions. One is a goal scorer, one prevents goals, or I mean, Ramos scores them as well from the penalty spot. In fact, more often than not, more than Messi, I'm no doubt. Yeah, I mean, his stats must be better, right, from the penalty spot than Messi. But in any case, is from a leadership standpoint, is that comparable? Is it going to have a tremendous impact, you think, on the Real Madrid dressing room and when they tread onto the pitch?
The impact is there. I'm also keeping an eye on something else here too. And Ramos versus Messi. I mean, I think even the most hardcore Madridista would admit that Barca missing Messi is more detrimental to Real Madrid missing Ramos, because Messi is just a greater game changer. But I do think if I'm Real Madrid, I'm very much monitoring how the defense and attack and the chemistry, the body language of the entire team does in these 6 weeks, because they'll also be at a crossroads with him. With the contracts and stuff.
Yeah.
To see let's see how this team does without him for 6 weeks. And if it's better than we thought, maybe we have a little bit of leverage in negotiations or whatever. That's, I think, one thing they'll be looking at. But I do think, look, I think with Real Madrid, it will be highly dependent on who else is on the field, right? If you have Carvajal on the team, that's a big plus. If you have Benzema on the team as well, that's a big plus. I think in Barcelona's case, it's also a little bit different because they've already lost Piqué, who was the captain. And then years prior, they've lost Iniesta, Xavi, Puyol. So they've also lost all of these other captains. So to take Messi out, it seemed like there was no leadership at all. Suarez is also gone. With Real Madrid, I think it's going to be dependent on who else is on the field. I mean, to be very fair, Nacho has been fantastic filling in for Ramos this season. So that's going to be big. I don't know how this goes, Diego. I really don't. February, I really hope it's not. I don't think Real Madrid is going to win the league title. They're already out of Copa. And for my sake, my selfish sake, I don't want them to be out in February either, because I just don't want to have the season end so early for podcasting reasons, for writing, for just interest purposes. You know, I want this team to go as far as they can. And so I don't want this to be another disastrous February season. So Ramos being out is a huge nail not in the coffin, because they're not dead and out yet, but it's a nail to deal with. On the flip side, go ahead.
No, I don't want to. I have a follow-up question now that you brought up the contract situation, but finish your thought if you want first, because I don't want to digress from the point.
Just on the flip side, we're talking about injuries. Not really on the flip side, just continuing on this injury discussion. Right now, Odriozola, Carvajal, Lucas Vazquez are all out. And I mean, the Real Madrid, before we started recording, the squad list came out. So I'm not sure exactly where Lucas Vazquez. Let me just take a quick look at the squad. But the bottom line is their wing backs situation is not great. So Lucas Vazquez is still out. So and this goes back to the weekend. We had 6 subs, 3 of them goalkeepers, and then we had Victor Schust and Marcelo and some other guys. Isco's back now, so that's nice. Marvin Park was there. This game we have Ruben Blanco from Castilla, Sergio Arribas, Marvin, Schust, Altuve. But again, like that right back position, I'm not sure what happens, because we have. Our defensive line is Varane, Nacho, Marcelo, Mendy, Chus, and Miguel. So I'm not sure who plays right back in this situation. It very well might be Mendy, Nacho, Varane, Marcelo is probably the most obvious solution, with Mendy at right back. If that happens against Atalanta, I'm a little bit worried, because the difference between Carvajal on the field and off the field is dramatic. It really is. You can look at the on and off stuff with him, the stats. The points gained per game with and without him. Again, in football, that stat is you need to look at a bunch of different contexts. It's not like basketball. It's a little bit more difficult to decipher. But if you don't have Carvajal against Atalanta, I'll worry a little bit more. You know, it's one thing to miss Ramos, but to miss Ramos and Carvajal is disastrous. But yeah, what was your follow-up question?
Well, I mean, first of all, let me just address what you just mentioned. I agree. I think, Real Madrid's defense is in deep trouble. I feel like this team is just living off of Toni Kroos, Casemiro, and Modric at the moment, with, the odd spark from Asensio. I think actually played pretty well, pretty
Yeah.
decent against Huesca.
Yeah.
And not to say Benzema, who just, I mean, that one shot with what's Huesca's goalkeeper's name? I forget now, but where he he gets it. I thought he got it in the face. Thank God it was
Oh,
against his
yeah.
chest.
Yeah.
But Benzema is always good for some incredible goal coming out of nowhere, really. But just to go back to the point, you brought up the contractual situation. Are we seeing like a kind of a Scottie Pippen thing going on here between Ramos and Real Madrid? You remember Scottie Pippen when he famously decided to get surgery when the season had just started in order to get, to be paid while getting injury and while getting surgery. Is that comparable? Is it similar? I mean, did he have to go and get surgery? Because I read somewhere that he could have waited until the off season or something of that nature, but I'm not entirely sure.
But the Pippen situation was also different, right? Because he also refused to play when he came back. That was the thing, right? Was that the same season?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he just wanted out of his current contract and get paid better. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a whole thing. I don't know if Ramos situation is like that. I don't know if we have proof either way, but Zidane was saying that, they all consulted together. They looked at it from every angle, and they decided that, it's better for him to get surgery now than to play through what he has. I'm no doctor. I'm not sitting there at the table with the discussion. I'm not, if it's a different truth, then I don't know the answer to that. I think it's a different situation here than Scotty, obviously, but
Sure.
as far as I understand it, it was better for him to get this done now than to play through it and possibly make it worse than it was.
So let's talk a little bit about the game before you got to run. Got a couple of minutes left, I think. I mean, again, I put out a tweet last week saying, how La Liga, and we discussed it on the pod as well, has got a plethora of fantastic goalkeepers. Alvaro Fernandez, Huesca's goalkeeper, I think in this game showed it as well, proved that point, as well as Courtois, man. I think both goalkeepers had some outstanding performances and prevented this game from seeing more goals.
Can I also just mention, since we're talking about goalkeepers, Edgar Badia in the Elche Villarreal game was unbelievable, and like there was a stretch where Alcácer had like so many point blank opportunities, and they could have gone up 3-4-0, and Badia just amazing saves over and over again. I also just want to say, impressed with Elche's fighting spirit. They were down 2-0, and they just went on this tear in the second half, and actually were a little bit unlucky not to even come away with the win. So really impressive stuff from them. I also just want to hit some other quick La Liga things, because we briefly mentioned Papu Gomez. What a signing! What an entrance to La Liga! Unbelievable. Real Sociedad with a big win over the weekend, which they really desperately needed something like that to get back on track, like an emphatic win. And Oyarzabal getting into form with a couple goals there.
That was a weird game. Real
Yeah.
Sociedad Cádiz. A lot of controversy coming out of that game, and if you look at it as well, I mean, the penalty calls and non-penalty calls, just do nothing but add more confusion to this endless debate. That is it penalty or non-penalty? Is it handball or not handball? What is the criteria?
I will always be bewildered by some of those decisions that are made, not only in La Liga but across Europe. There was something else. Maybe that was most of it, but
I'll give you something else.
Yeah, give me.
Zizou came out in the press conference, said next year things will change. Things will have to change.
Was that from today?
That was today. No, excuse me. That was no. That was post Huesca. Was he referring to himself leaving or players changing?
I don't know. I honestly don't remember that one for some reason, but I haven't attended the last couple of Zizou post-game press conferences. He also had one like before we started recording, the pre-game for tomorrow's game, where he said some things, but it certainly was a different narrative than the last pre-game presser where he just went on a tear and asked for respect and stuff like that. So it's amazing what a huge victory over Huesca will do to your confidence. All of a sudden, you can go into the press conference and feeling really good about yourself.
Listen, I'll tell you what, man. I think don't joke about it. I think it was a huge victory because before the match, before this Huesca Real Madrid took place, he was again in the hot seat, being asked about this, that, and the third, and he flat out got angry and started firing shots at the press, talking about them leaking stuff or basically indirect comments and quotes referring to his job security or lack thereof. And I mean, many people interpret that as direct shots at the Madrid board themselves for filtering out the potential signing of a new coach midway through the season. So, you know what? I mean, I don't do this very often, especially not on the podcast. I do to my intimate Madridista friends, of which you are one, Kiyan. But I would not feel completely, hopeless for what remains of the season for Real Madrid, because so far, every time Zizou has come under fire, has come under pressure, has been up against the ropes, he's come out swinging and winning. Last night or 2 nights ago against Huesca was a big victory for him. Make no mistake about it. If they would have lost that match, we could have been talking about the firing of Zizou at the moment. There's been plenty more. The Clásico, the Champions League, group matches where it was a must-win situation. Sevilla, Atlético de Madrid, the derby. Every time Zizou's come out winning. So, it's I expect nothing less from him at this point.
It's not sustained enough. That's the problem. They come away from those disasters and those low points with immediate wins, but they don't sustain that winning enough. That's why they're 10 points behind. It's not enough for me.
Well, it shouldn't be. I'm not saying you should be satisfied with what you're seeing. Well, what I am saying is you can probably expect Madrid to continue to fight in the Champions League. I don't know, quarterfinal, semifinal, who knows? I mean, he's been proving all of his doubters wrong when push comes to shove and when water reaches boiling point. Who knows, man? You might even end up winning it. I just feel dirty now. You're making me say all these nice things. I want to wash myself.
I will never rule out Real Madrid winning the Champions League. You know that, despite how bad they are.
Exactly.
You just can't. There's a lot of variables this season too. I mean, you get, again, a lot of people. Some people are worried about Atalanta. I'm not saying I'm not worried about them. That'd be too arrogant, obviously. But their playing style still benefits Real Madrid. But I think they'll get past Atalanta, and after that, when you're talking about some of the variables like Liverpool in a funk.
Yep.
Juve is kind of hit or miss, really, it's up in the air. I'm not even sure if PSG beats Barca. I mean,
I'm a little more optimistic. Yeah. I fancy my chances a little bit more. Yeah.
Did you see Mbappe's goal over the weekend where he ran 36 kilometers per hour? And normally I'd say that happens in Liga and maybe in a more defensive setup, he doesn't do that, but Barca play a high line. So the difference between him and Borja Iglesias getting behind somebody like Mingueza is night and day. So that'll be fun to watch. Are we getting close to those Champions League games? It must be close, right?
Yes, it's here, man. It's here.
Is it like next week?
Mm-hmm. Next week.
Like actually next week?
Next week. Like this next
February 16th. Week. Okay.
Valentine's Day, baby.
Sometimes I just wake up and I'm like, oh, it's Champions League this week, and I just forget because there's so much happening. So yeah, 16th, and you guys play on the 16th on a Tuesday.
Yeah, just after Valentine's.
Can't wait. I just want something a little bit more exciting than what we have right now. It's not exciting enough. It's not exciting.
I don't know, man. This shit's pretty exciting for me. I've been on the edge of my seat with Barca matches recently.
I think you have a little bit more fun watching Barca than I do watching Real Madrid. Yeah,
you bet. You don't like Varane sort of stumbling and putting in a goal. You don't enjoy that?
Don't diss my boy. He has that. Those were graceful goals. There's a quick a Patreon question.
All right.
That I think we should take. Patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas, whether you're listening to this on audio or watching this on YouTube, because it'll be uploaded on YouTube, the video version where Diego and I are actually on camera. So you can watch that on YouTube. Patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. We're going to record episode every Friday. Diego and I talked about it this morning. We're sorry we missed the last Friday and the other Fridays this season. We decided the show goes on every Friday and Monday, no matter what. Even if one of us can't record, the other one will record either by ourselves or with somebody else. So patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas for more bonus content. And this Friday, we'll actually have midweek La Liga games to talk about because there's games Tuesday, Wednesday, and even tonight, Atletico play against Celta. So,
Yes.
Tapiwa Musa, our patron, says,
Taps.
what are your thoughts on some of the most annoying managers to have ever graced La Liga? And by that, I mean any criteria, be it attitude, tactics, behavior, anything that makes you just want to yell at, then get on with it. This question comes to me in light of another Antonio Conte outburst at the Inter board, claiming they never backed him when they let him handpick virtually all the signings he's had at Inter during his tenure. But it seems Conte, as we've seen from his track record, never just wants to put his hands up and take blame when things aren't working, always deflecting or taking the victim position. So yeah, just got me thinking who we would deem as annoying as Conte in La Liga over the years.
Like right when you read the question, the first name that popped into my mind, and I almost feel bad because I do have I like him. I like Javier Clemente. Okay, that's the first, for some reason, the first one that came to my mind, even before Mourinho, mind you, because sometimes I just feel like he just likes to stir the pot and you stir shit up just for the sake of stirring shit up. I mean, sometimes I agree with what he says. It's usually referred to Real Madrid and whatever's going on there. But when the barrel's facing your face and he's taking shots, then all of a sudden it stops being funny. No, but having said that, I mean, I do have a lot of love for Javier Clemente. I think, it's he's a treasure of Spanish football. He's somebody to be cherished, and he would make a hell of a 30 for 30 documentary, I'm sure. But just sometimes I think he goes overboard with his statements, and just for the sake, I think of for creating headlines, really. I don't know. Then another one, I mean, I mentioned Mourinho. I think that's a given, right? I mean, who doesn't agree with me on that one? I know you certainly will, Kiyan. I don't know, Kiyan. Paco Gémez, maybe. Paco Gémez, another feisty coach that when he was at Rayo, where else was he at? I mean, he was, just somebody who, more often than not, you'd see fighting and creating headlines, fighting with journalists and creating headlines, sort of for no particular reason. I don't know. Those three are sort of just popped into my head now. I can come up with more. I mean,
well,
Van Gaal. I mean, Louis van Gaal back in the day was kind of somebody where you're sometimes like, hey,
yeah. I find him
annoying. But I'm mainly referring to press conferences here. I've no idea they're like in training sessions or how they motivate their team, their players, and or their tactics out in the field. Mira, look, if it comes to tactics out in the field, I probably choose Bordalas. Bordalas is when it comes purely from a tactical point of view, somebody I cannot agree with and annoys me greatly. Yes.
I had difficulty to even think about answers to this question because it's not, I don't really get annoyed that much by managers. I just feel like a lot of our annoyance with managers has to do with our emotions in the moment, reacting to something they said or a tactical thing. But then kind of like, you move on and you realize, okay, well, no one's perfect or whatever. I don't get it. The funny thing with me is I think I get more annoyed by Real Madrid managers, mostly because they're in my lives often, right? So, some people are annoyed with somebody like Unai Emery, for example, but I don't get annoyed by him because I'm not often like exposed to him doing things that might annoy me. Right. I get annoyed by somebody like Bernd Schuster coming out and saying, we can't compete with Barcelona. We're not good. Like stuff like that annoys me, right? Or when Zidane comes out and says every game we suffered, then we have character and all this, the same cookie cutter answer, that annoys me. I think if we get Xavi coaching Barcelona, that would annoy me probably, right? Pep was very annoying to me during
kicking your ass.
When Pep versus Mourinho thing, that whole thing, Pep was annoying to me constantly. but I don't find him annoying anymore. I actually have a lot of admiration for Pep now, and actually everything he says, a lot of the stuff I deeply agree with and I resonate with. I posted a quote of his that I really enjoyed just yesterday.
Oh, right. What did it say?
He was just talking about like football is always evolving, and that what worked last year doesn't necessarily work this year. What didn't work last year may work this year. And there's no like, it's just always changing. We can't say that something is, and this part I'm kind of going to paraphrase, but like what he was implying was that we can't, something that is the truth one year is not necessarily the truth the next year, right? So it's always changing. You know, something may work now, but it may not work later. Something may not work now, but it may work later. It depends, right? And I just feel like I post that because I feel like too many fans just think that it's always a certain way all the time. Like, you know, if this player is good in this context, it means he has to play here and here and here, or do this. And it's just, everything is different. It's always evolving. He called it an animal. It's an animal that's always moving or something like that. I really enjoyed the quotes. I posted it. Anyway, so I bottom line is I don't really find things too annoying these days. Maybe it's because I'm older and I just don't get annoyed as much as I used to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I gotta say, like, I mean, now reflecting on the coaches I was given, I much prefer a coach to speak his mind as opposed to giving those what did you call it, cookie dough cutter answers where it's like every team is difficult, we respect our opponent, we're going to be ready, we have to train very hard. I mean, it's press conferences become very stale to cover when you're always given the politically correct answer. So, you know, I do applaud all of these managers that do speak their mind and you know, shaking things up a bit.
I will say this, I actually like, but the Conte example is a good one of like something you can legitimately be annoyed by, because he really does always complain about the club, and it's never about like what he did wrong. Klopp had one yesterday, I think, that a lot of people were angry about, right? And Klopp is someone who can get really annoying because every single time he loses, it's because of the pitch, the wind, the referee. And he's always like, we would deserve to win. It's like, I like I prefer the Simeone approach. I've always liked Simeone because he's always been like, when his team loses, he's always like, they were better. We lost. You know, he never bullshits like these things. He always like admits that he could have been better. And that I always respected that about him, right? He never blames external factors for when his team loses. That's why I like him.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, Klopp was very classless in his answer to the journalist that asked him, you know, whether the title race was over and if he's gunning for top 4 finish, and gave a pretty.
He also got mad at the journalist because the journalist said you're behind 10 points with and City have a game in hand or something.
Right.
And he was mad. Even though the journalist was right, he was mad, saying something like, no, it's 13 points because City are it was something really weird. I only read the transcript. I didn't actually watch it or listen to it. So I've been a little bit fuzzy on the details, but it seemed like a weird thing to be annoyed about. Yeah. We got to wrap it up here, Diego. Appreciate you. We will be back Friday over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. Follow Diego Lorijn. Follow Kiyan Sobhani. Follow Churros Tácticas without the Y on Twitter. We'll be back Friday. Signing off. Take care, my friend.
Peace.